Hello everyone, and welcome to the story recap of the second act of the campaign, The Tyrannical Tales of Saltkeep. The purpose of this video is to act as a summary of all of the exciting madness that's happened since the events covered in the Act 1 recap video. Act 1 ended with the group emerging victorious from the Yawning Portal, gaining fame for the Adventurers League that was recently set up at Saltkeep, situated in the seaside town of Saltmarsh. Just after they emerged from the well, Lady Euphia left the group that night, returning home to the High Forest with a magical healing apple recovered from the Sunless Citadel. This was in hopes of using it to stop a spreading corruption that lay deep within her forest home. She was successful in healing the forest, and although she was praised by the village, questions still remained. A mystery surrounds the ancestor of whose axe she carries, with their fate remaining unknown. The power she's been seeking since she can remember remains untapped, and the dragons now plaguing the borders of the High Forest still remain a threat. Before leaving the Yawning Portal, Dernan the innkeeper had told Cal that her mother Angela used to be a noble and visit the top floor of the tavern. To add to this revelation, Cal discovered from some tieflings at the tavern that Angela made her wealth running a magical item shop with Zendros. However, some dealings with a demon had left Angela out of favour with the citizens of Waterdeep. She would leave shortly after with her newborn daughter Kalina. The tieflings hinted that maybe Cal should commune with her hellish ancestor Glacia for more answers, and Kalina had recently acquired just the book to do this. However, she later learned that she'd need some sort of sacrifice which wouldn't be easy to come by. Upon returning to the keep, the restoration had been completed, and partly thanks to a handful of donors. These included Leos and Erlantha, who they discovered to be part of a secret organisation called the Harpers. This also involved a paladin called Anthar Froome, who belonged to an organisation called the Order of the Gauntlets. Other donors included their CL friend Oceanus and two council members of Saltmarsh, Anders Solmore and Gillen Primewater, believed in the Adventurers League cause too. There was also newcomers to the keep who wished to join the Adventurers League and Dawnwood's mission. This included most of the same party that blasted the Candlekeep Library Tower into the ocean, as well as some new adventurers that had aided Candlekeep with a separate book issue. A book that played a haunted nursery rhyme. Solving this issue had rewarded them with a divine slip of paper for their efforts, and which, under Runagisho's guidance, they had brought to Lord Dawnwood to aid him in his mission of collecting the slips and saving the world from the disasters that had become an escalating problem as of late. Fizban talked to the group some more upon arriving back at Saltkeep. He once again explained that the biggest threat to Lord Dawnwood's mission is the dragon cult, and more importantly, the Queen of Dragons, Tiamat. Fizban explained that the dragons were greatly against Lord Dawnwood's mission of gathering the books, so it would not be wise if word got out on what they were doing. Fizban also said that being two sides of the same coin, he cannot defeat Tiamat. Should she be summoned from a plane known as the Nine Hells, he would need the group to stop her, but right now, their best bet is to stop the cult from summoning her in the first place. Fizban said that Noxley's friend Leosin was visiting the keep with Anthar Froome, and the pair seemed to have a plan to do with the dragon cult. Fizban said that the group would benefit from getting all of the allies they could should the worst happen. With Noxley running the keep and Lord Dawnwood putting new adventurers through their paces, Fizban said he would soon leave the group to chase the lead on the dragon cult, and that instead Fizban would search for some more allies, the secretive and hidden metallic dragons of Tyrell. In the downtime before Leosin and Anthar arrived, the group went about their business. Jasper began receiving tutelage from Lord Dawnwood, whose leg was still giving him grief from that day at Red Beach. Dawnwood didn't let it bother him though. Instead, he reminisced about his old master, a man who harshly had his eyes removed for failing to guard some sacred artefacts. His poor master had also lost his hand to a wolf, so Dawnwood felt like he couldn't complain about his disability. The group later learned that the wound in Dawnwood's leg was not healing because of a great necrotic curse. It was suggested to them that the only way to remove this curse would be to defeat the creature that had placed it. Hector found out that the Sea Prince Sambalay, who knew his father, had escaped from the prison in Saltmarsh, whilst at the same time a dragon cultist had also been found dead in the prison. Since his new crew was spooked, Hector renamed the ship the Sword of Bahamut and made them lay low. Upon later heading to the jail, the group were faced with the news that jailer Stonehorn had also recently passed away. The trauma of losing his job due to the recent commotion at the jail was more than he could take. When the party met the new jailer, it was none other than Jasper's old weapon master, Dean Lance. The vile, aggressive and racist Lance seemed to hate Jasper and the Adventurers League. He called Jasper a quitter for leaving the Lord's Alliance, and swore that the Adventurers League would not last and that one day he would claim Saltkeep for himself. Doric was still being haunted by the mysterious shadowy figure who warned him against adventuring, but Doric still knew little of its origins or why it was haunting him. Lady Tabitha's presence had also started to bring some of the more monstrous races to the Adventurers League, including a mysterious, masked and muted figure known only as the Unnamed. Himiko's visions through her fox friends began getting stronger too. Through these spirit visions, she could see Sakura looking very weak next to a dragon horde and the blue half-dragon Cyanrath. She could also see Amaterasu chasing Hishiro with a bead in hand through blossom trees and across the bamboo roofs of Karator. She could also see Ryochi stalking the white dragon masked Toramatsu through some swamplands before being ambushed by the snake folk known as the Yuan-Ti. When Leosin and Onthar finally arrived, the party decided to blow some steam off at the Empty Net Tavern with a few other members of the Adventurers League. This ended with a drinking game that had Hector try and ride a flying unicorn out of Saltmarsh Bay. Hector slipped, dropping and revealing his prized possession and heritage from his father, a huge egg-shaped ruby. That night, Jasper also learned that Eleander Fireborn's investigation into Anders Salmore and Scaring Wave Chaser had come back without suspicion. They also learned that 2 guards, Bladeface and Ovum, had been fired by Jailer Lance. Jasper found the 2 and recruited them and set them to work by investigating his new suspicion, the wealthiest trader in town, Gellon Primewater. The following morning, Leosin and Onthar asked the party, since they would have less chance of being recognised, if they would return to the raiders' camp as spies, and in their mission track the dragon horde, find where it's going and what the dragon cult are up to. Being the party's only lead, they agreed. Fizban teleported the group one last time before saying goodbye for now and heading out on his worldwide quest for powerful allies. Leaving Leosin and Onthar in Greenest to help with the raiding relief effort, the group returned to the Dragon's Camp. However, this time it had been abandoned. All that was left of the cult were the leaders Mondath, Cyanrath, and a few cultists looking after some black dragon eggs. Upon discovery of who the party were, Jasper was forced into a one-on-one duel with Cyanrath, but this time Jasper was victorious. After making a strange ally, they discovered that the dragon horde had been making its way up north and was set to become part of a larger caravan out of Baldur's Gate. The party, before leaving the camp, killed Mondath, destroyed the black dragon eggs, and started clearing the rest of the cultists. However, disaster struck in a hostage situation gone wrong. Himiko's companion Sakura was killed, and the fox strangely transformed into the corpse of an elf. Choosing to lose the trail of the dragon horde, Himiko and Cal began racing to the nearest city that they knew perhaps had healers with the power to bring Sakura back to life. They chose the holy city of priests, Badusk. The rest of the group travelled back to Greenest to report to Leosin and Onthar as soon as possible. Overcoming many natural disasters, beasts and puzzles, Himiko and Cal was able to reach Badusk just in time to ask Sister Martelar to revive Sakura. Since Himiko said she knew Ontharr Froom, and Ontharr once upon a time had helped save Badusk from a dragon attack, Sister Martelar agreed. But since diamonds were scarce, she made the group promise that they would aid her with a problem after her resurrection. Miraculously, Sakura was resurrected, and as the rest of the party reached Badusk, they were given their mission. A ferryman named Fournette was too afraid to go into the River Chiantha and do his trade runs to Baldur's Gate. The group were to persuade him to get back in the water again. Realising that they could kill two birds with one stone, and not only repay the favour to the High Priest of Badusk, but also to get to Baldur's Gate on time to try and join the same caravan that the cultists were in. The Adventurers League realised they had a real opportunity here. The group were persuasive against the ferryman, but soon learned that his tales of Froghemoth were true. However, after defeating the mutated frog, they were able to travel to Baldur's Gate and dissolve Fournette's fear of the river. Upon entering Baldur's Gate, a member of Jasper's company, Big Wendy, was able to connect the party with Julian, a half-orc trader moving goods to Waterdeep. They joined Julian and the rest of the caravan moving north, which they knew included the Dragon Cult, and more importantly the Dragon Horde. Upon their travels, they earned the trust of the caravan through defending its occupants from attacks of wild creatures. They even began to learn which caravan members were disguised cultists. During one fight, the party learnt of a powerful spellcaster were amongst the cultists. Upon investigation, Doric came face to face with a red wizard refugee, Asbara Jose. Asbara Jose claimed that he could sense that Doric was cursed by the current leader of the Red Wizards of Thay, a lich of necromantic magic named as Sars Tarm. Asbara Jose told Doric he shouldn't take the shadow that haunts him too seriously, and he should ignore the warnings to stop adventuring. Upon the group having a close call with being recognised by some guards, they were seemingly saved from poisoning by a small gnome named Jamnar Gleam Silver. The group later learned that she was part of a group called the Black Network. She joined forces with the Adventurers League in hoping to find out what was in the Dragon Horde and what the cultists were up to. The journey north also led to a near miss with the Yuan-Ti. They had spotted Lady Tabitha and said that it was unbelievable that she was there and that they needed to report back to the King of Floness at once. The caravan was greeted one morning to smokes and screams on the horizon. Jasper's hometown of Daggerford was under attack. The party momentarily left the caravan to investigate and came to the aid of Lizzie Rusk, who was Jasper's old friend and first recruit of the company. She was trying to stop a fire giant from destroying the town. She claimed the fire giant was looking for something. The party defeated the fire giant, but not before revealing that he was looking for the green dragon mask. He claimed that Bigby was wrong, and Blagothcus was right to listen to Nosnrar. The giants had grown weak, he said. His last words were that of worry, that a human had beaten them in finding a mask yet again. Whilst in Daggerford, the party learnt of the guards' dislike for Jasper and the other races. They quickly learnt this way of thinking was spread by Jasper's old weapon master Lance. However, victory and actions in the town cleared Jasper's name amongst the guards. Upon accompanying Lizzie Rusk to the Daggerford Keep to give a report, Lady Tabitha used this time to form an alliance, using some trickery of a Yuan-Ti threat with the Lady of Daggerford Keep. However, during this time, they also learned that the Lord's Alliance had some cultists in their midst. Jasper feigned being a cultist to talk to one of the nobles in Daggerford, Basil Geldon. Basil let slip that there was a green dragon mask found in Daggerford, and it was taken from the treasury by Lance. They would later learn from Jamnar that Lance had taken the green dragon mask and gave it to Prince Algarthus, son of King Melandrach, leader of the Misty Forest and part of the Lord's Alliance. Lance did this before being transferred to Saltmarsh. The group continued on taking a quick pit stop in Waterdeep before joining a new caravan north, all the while keeping a close eye on the dragon cult and their horde hidden in wagons. The trail ended abruptly at a place called the Carnath Roadhouse, a warehouse for road repairing materials. The group quickly identified that the leader of the establishment was a half-orc called Bog Luck. Upon taking a second to get their bearings, they found out that the business was done, and as Bara Jose had already left. Many cultists left the warehouse, whereas the rest began to relax. Frustrated, the group searched the warehouse at night for the dragon horde's whereabouts. With Jamnar Gleamsilver's help, they found a back storeroom with a fake crate leading to a dark and long underground tunnel. The group investigated the floor of the tunnel and identified that lizard folk had taken the dragon horde in crates away from the roadhouse. They pursued the tracks for days down the dark tunnel before re-emerging outside, right on the edge of the swamplands known as the Mere of the Dead Men. They lost the tracks of the dragon horde somewhere underwater in the Mere. However, some additional tracks led back up north, back to Saltmarsh. The party decided it was time to return home. However, whilst travelling back, the group discovered some suspicious broken crates in the Dullwater River that belonged to Mefera's blacksmith workshop. Saltmarsh had grown since the last time the group were there. They returned to the keep for a quick respite, an update, and to touch base with the rest of the league. Dormwood told them of new adventurers being tested by him and Froome, before delving into some of the magic books to get more slips. He seemed excited that a new slip had been recovered that once again hinted at what could have been causing the world to become so unstable. The new slip stated that something called the Tablets of Fate was somehow stolen, which set off, not for the first time, a catastrophic chain of events. Dormwood related this to earlier slips referencing a pair. He explained that no more information could be found of these so-called Tablets of Fate, and it was a mystery that he intended to explore by aiding adventurers to delve into more books. With some downtime, Jasper was feeling the need to try and learn how to pray, but hearing nothing but thunder, Dormwood began trying to teach him. Dormwood also mentioned that when all this was over, Onthar Froome had told him about a city called Elturel, where famous paladins of every order live, even those of the frowned-upon god Lathander. Lady Tabitha also learns that the new member to the league, the Unnamed, was actually a teenager named Bogan. He was a servant of the Raven Queen, who had been tasked with aiding Lady Tabitha to build the church to the goddess of memories. He explained that he was doing this as the Raven Queen had promised him that she would help him find someone very close to him who was currently stuck in a demiplane that was once part of the Shadowfell. The church was nearly finished apart from a suspicious stone mural on the back wall. Lady Tabitha had found some of these bricks in Sister Malguth's old room in Saltkeep, and so she tasked Bogan with checking on Sister Malguth in Greenest to see if the sister had any more of these stones to complete the church. Bogan agreed and left Saltmarsh immediately. The last surprise was Hector's heritage. During that afternoon, the ruby began to crack as it granted Hector more power. The ruby turned into a baby ruby dragon that kept saying the word father. It also seemed to be afraid of members of the party that spoke both demonic and infernal, being wary of devils and demons both. Upon entering the empty net for a drink, the party realised that Overman Bladeface, who had been set to tracking Gellum Primewater, they had gone missing for quite some time. When quizzing Primewater in the tavern and inquiring about an old building, a marine barracks, he started acting strangely and left. The group trailed him to the basement of the mariner's barracks and discovered that he was no other than the boss that had been dealing with the Sea Princess. Not only that, but he was holding Bladeface and Ovum hostage with his secret vampiric bodyguard, Louisa. The group defeated her and were about to hand him to authorities when Gellin implied he was only working with the Sea Princes to stop them from raiding the town. He said that they used to do this many years before the Lord's Alliance came to Saltmarsh. He worries that Saltmarsh will face the full wrath of the Sea Princes without him. The group did a deal with Primewater. He would be spared of prison as long as he could try to get them on the Saltmarsh Council and as long as he cleaned up his act. Finally, before leaving the basement, they found a note on Louisa's corpse that indicated that she had been working with the dragon cult and that she was the one who released Sambalay and killed the cultist prisoner. The following morning, the party were greeted by a familiar face. Lady Euphia had came back to assist the Adventurers League in their mission against the dragon cult. A blue dragon had started attacking villages in the High Forest, and she was afraid her home would be next. The party were requested at the town hall that morning for a meeting with the council. Here they learned that the council suspected lizard folk of stealing mass amounts of weapons from Mephira's blacksmith. Mephira is currently away, trying to get a cleric from Helm's home to resurrect his dead wife. The group were tasked with a recon mission to find out if the lizard folk were planning an all-out war with Saltmarsh with these weapons. Before heading out on their mission, Doric had heard rumours of an interesting set of obelisks on a small island in the estuary of Saltmarsh. The party took a boat out and discovered it was a popular fishing destination. A magical song was coming from the stones, calling fish into the estuary. However, they were soon met with chaos in the water. Some of the party fell overboard and could see the numerous aquatic races fleeing a greater danger from deeper within the ocean. The party fled the estuary and quickly set about their mission. After delving into the freezing depths of the Dunwater River, they found an underwater entrance to a lizard folk lair. Upon being asked to surrender, the party learned that their Queen Othakent, and the rest of the lizard folk had been providing a safe haven for some other aquatic races, all hiding from the deadly Sahuagin, and that the stolen weapons were so they could take their home Longweed back. The group proved themselves to the lizard folk by killing a sea crocodile that had been driven from its home and was preying on the lizard folk. They then promised Othakent that they would set up a meeting to try and form an alliance with the Council of Saltmarsh, but in return they needed information. They wanted to know the details of the lizard folk who had been working with the dragon cult and moving their horde to the Mere of the Dead Men. Queen Othakent said that her minister, an old lizard folk named Soirive, knew the answers to their questions. The party left the lizard folk lair that night and hurried back to the keep during a wild storm. Upon praying again, Jasper was thrust into the sky amongst storm clouds. However, in the storm clouds, he could see two gods fighting each other. One was the giant god Strongmouse, convinced that Jasper and the giants could provide him with the strength needed to defeat Tiamat. And then the other was Bahamut, the father of dragons, who believed that violence doesn't always need to be the answer. Bahamut also said that him and the metallic dragons were his best bet against their chromatic counterparts. Jasper was asked to choose a side and help determine the victor. From that moment on, he was Jasper, champion of Bahamut. Down in the courtyard, Hector's ruby dragon began to give more of its power to Hector, which enabled the dragon to grow in size. However, upon this transformation, it started cowering, yelling farther at the sky. In giving its energy to Hector, it was starting to remember. The ruby dragon was named Sardior, and it remembered that Bahamut was its father, and none other than Tiamat was its mother. The divine power from the storm also caused Lady Euphia's ancestors, Tolotus and Balius, to materialise. They began to talk about Euphia's last ancestor, the one whose axe she now owns. They said they haven't felt her passing yet, that the last ancestor hasn't joined them, and that she is still out there somewhere. For Lady Tabitha, the Raven Queen protected both her and Lord Dornwood from the storm and reinforced that LT is on the right path, that she must help Lord Dornwood accomplish his mission, and that in the future she would be left with a very difficult decision to make. She must be ready. For Himiko, the divine storm brought the attention of two other wild gods, Trishna, the god of dolphins, and Ferin, the god of otters. She learnt the past about the mysterious stones on the island in the estuary of Saltmarsh, and how, in ages past, a sea god had chained a siren to the stones. Ferin, in his otter form, had broken the chains and freed the siren. In the siren's bitterness, she cursed the stones to sing her song for all of time, and to draw in the sea god's children to their slaughter. Many years ago, a tribe of humans learnt of the fishing spot, and had started slaughtering the fish for the siren. She left, and Ferin had blamed himself for the imbalance in nature ever since. Himiko brought Ferin out of his misery and told him that the fish had been bringing life to Saltmarsh, so it isn't all bad. She did, however, promise to speak to Anders Salmor and to get him to take it easy on the fishing spot, and perhaps start some agricultural alternatives. For Cal, the book she had found that would help her speak to Glacia, her devil ancestor, caught fire in the godly storm. She ran to the bathhouse and tried putting out the book. Two small demons that had been running around the keep since escaping Mordenkainen's mansion appeared, asking Cal to send them back to the demon prince Orcus. However, Cal seized the opportunity to perform a different ritual. She would sacrifice the demons so that she could speak to Glacia. Her ritual sent her consciousness to the nine hells, to which she witnessed a battlefield, one where demons fought devils, the Blood Wars. Glacia accepted the demons, but also regarded Cal in disgust. Although tiefling, which meant she was part human and part devil, Glacia said that Cal had a demonic tint, and that this comes from her father's side. Cal also asked for wings to help her better get revenge on her mother on the giant Nostra. Glacia said she would grant her this, but only if Cal would gather a pair of black dragon wings. After the event-filled night, Doric was also greeted in the morning by Venvaris Swiftlight and Inkpot, two members of Silvery Moon, where Doric had studied magic. As well as receiving an update on Doric's adventures, Doric also told her about what Asbara Jos had said about Doric being cursed by Sars Tarm. To this, Venvaris didn't have a solution. However, she did reveal information about Doric's past, and how his parents considered his birth a miracle birth. They had been trying for a long time for a child, and it was a group of mysterious strangers that had delivered Doric into this world. When realising he had magical tendencies, it was Doric's parents who had got in contact with Silvery Moon. Venvaris, at this time, also gave Doric the option to return to his studies and leave the adventuring life behind. To this, Doric refused. He believed he had a duty to see his mission through, to make sure that his friends would be safe, and to make sure that he could save all of the books he could. Later that day, the party were true to their word about setting up a meeting between Queen Othakent of the Lizardfolk and the Saltmarsh Council. An alliance was formed where Saltmarsh would help them against the Sahuagin, and the Lizardfolk in return would help with the aquatic defence of Saltmarsh. Whilst making preparations, the group discovered more information. Whilst impersonating Louisa to make a trade with the Sea Princes, they learned that the red dragon Hundara was awake in Mintarn, and that all businesses had grinded to a halt there since Hundara was raising taxes and destroying settlements. Sambalay had claimed that something had changed within Mintarn. That wasn't the only thing that troubled Sambalay. Lazarus was still eluding the Sea Princes. He was last seen in Waterdeep, but they couldn't get close to him. It had annoyed Sambalay that it was Waterdeep that he had retreated to, but the Sea Princes didn't know why. They suspected that Sambalay also had romantic feelings for the old pirates. Zendros also confirmed to the group that news around Thay was that a group of renegade red wizards had left Sarstam's reign in Thay, and were the ones who had joined the dragon cult. She also learned that the leader of the renegade red wizards had the initials RM. Also that day, when visiting Kester the leatherworker for supplies, she ended up taking her hat of disguise off, and she revealed that she was a lizard folk and actually went by the name of Kess. She was the daughter of Swarreeve, the minister of the lizard folk tribe. She gave the details of her mate Snapjaw and how it was him who had been helping the dragon cult in order to try and earn weapons to aid the tribe in their battle against the Sahuagin. She pointed out on a map where they could find Snapjaw and also told the party a special greeting so that he would recognise it was her who sent them. The party made their way to the lizard folk location in the swampy Mere of the Dead Men, but they were soon assaulted by a Yuan-Ti scouting party. During the assault, the Yuan-Ti said that Lady Tabitha was an imposter. The party met with Snapjaw and he explained that the lizard folk he was with were working with the dragon cult at Castle Neratar that was hidden deeper in the Mere. He said that the cargo that they were transporting from Carnoth Roadhouse was delivered to an elf named Borngray, and that he was the leader of the dragon cult at the castle. Snapjaw said that Borngray was giving some of the hoard to a local black dragon Vorag before the hoard would disappear deep within the castle itself. He also explained that Resmir, the wearer of the black dragon mask, had recently revisited the castle, but he never left, and the lizard folk hadn't seen him since. Since the deal the lizard folk had was turning sour due to some bullywug bullies, they were keen to help the group infiltrate the castle and locate the hoard. The party had to be careful though, due to the castle leaders having some old horns named the Drakhorn prototype that could summon Varag from his rest. Snapjaw also had one of these, and the party would later use it as a distraction. The Adventurers League snuck into Castle Neratar under the cover of night and began to inspect the castle as stealthily as possible. They began taking out some of the cult members by poisoning their food. Using the Manifest Mind spell, Doric discovered a dangerous secret. It wasn't just one black dragon that had its home in the Mirror of the Dead Men, but two. Vorag had a partner, Wave. It was her eggs that had been slaughtered at the raiders' camp. Doric also discovered that Asbarajos was also at the castle. Whilst scouting and investigating the whereabouts of the transportation of the dragon horde, Hector discovered a portal underneath Castle Neratar. Leaving a message with the group, he bravely entered the portal. The group followed suit, but ran into a group of bullywugs with their leader Spatagu underneath the castle. Spatagu raised alarm, so the group quickly killed him and followed Hector's lead through the portal. The portal led to a vast snowy mountainscape with a single hunting lodge. Lady Tabitha decided to take disguise of Asbarajos. This worked out well, as the party found that Hector had already begun negotiating with a huge troll named Trespin. To not raise alarm, Hector claimed that he was with Asbarajos, and the party were undergoing an inspection on Trespin and the hunting lodge. Looking around, the party could see portals that seemed to be linked to 4 of the 5 dragonflights. Only the white had no portal. Trespin introduced the party to the leader of the lodge, Talis the White. The meeting with Talis was interrupted by a pursuing Borngray, who explained that the group were not Asbarajos and the inspecting party, but instead had completely caused chaos and death at Castle Neratar. Borngray asked for Talis' help to kill the party. Instead, Talis and her group turned on Borngray, murdering him. Talis offered an alliance with the group. She explained her anger at not being given the white dragon mask, which instead went to Toramatsu because of his wealth and gifts. She explained that Toramatsu had formed an alliance with the Yuan-Ti, and her plan was to blame the destruction of Castle Neratar on them, to put him out of favour. She pointed the group in the direction of where the dragon horde was taken, wanting them to cause more chaos. This direction was a flying castle docked at a snowy mountain town, New Parnast. The group began making their way across the blizzard-filled mountains towards New Parnast. Cal sensed that there was a white dragon close by, so the group pressed on quickly. The party arrived in New Parnast and saw that they were too late. The castle, and therefore the dragon horde, had somehow flown away. They quickly stole some wyverns to catch the flying fortress, and after a quick sky battle with Resmir's second-in-command, the short-lived Captain Othelstan, they located the castle. To their horror, they saw that the castle in the clouds was manned by many ogres on ballistas that armed the castle walls. The party shown a flag that Talis had given them to help their infiltration, and the party landed in the lower courtyard. An ogre explained that as they were late, they needed to report to Resmir. When things got violent, the ogre called for help from a nearby stone giant. Before the stone giant could accompany the group to meet Resmir, Hector's quick thinking explained that the giants were indeed weak. The stone giant, dismayed at this, instead said that perhaps the group should report to Blagothcus in the upper courtyard instead. Upon meeting them, Blagothcus had recognised Jasper from a vision from the rejected giant god Strongmouse. When quizzed, the giant explained that the floating castle was his and piloted by the spirit of his late wife. He explained that since the 1,000-Year War, the giants had become weak in their defeat and they had become a shadow of their former selves. He explained that he believed that the only thing that could stir the giants from their complacency and sorrow was the arrival of the Dragon Queen Tiamat. The group managed to persuade Blagothcus that the Adventurers League was stronger than the Dragon Cult, and they struck up a deal with him. Blagothcus and the ogres were to turn a blind eye on the Adventurers League, and in return they would kill all of the Dragon Cult members on the castle in the clouds. Blagothcus sweetened the deal by showing the group Giant's Bane, the legendary bow that Cal had been seeking. Before they departed on their mission, he also explained that it was Nostrar who had the idea of persuading all of the giants to help the Dragon Cult raise Tiamat from the Nine Hells. And it was also Nostrar who had killed Cal's mother while searching for the blue dragon mask in Tribor. The group began searching for the Dragon Horde before trying to deal with Resmir and the Dragon Cult. Their search led them to the windy ice tunnels in the iceberg beneath the castle fortress. It was there they had finally found it. The Dragon Horde. Upon Himiko sensing that one of her spirit beads that was stopping her from returning to her true form, that it lay inside the ginormous mound of treasure, she quickly ran in to investigate. To their horror, they discovered that beneath the mound of treasure lay Glazheal the Cloud Chaser, an adult white dragon. The dragon explained that Toramatsu Koya had sent Glazheal to keep an eye on Talis the White, as Toramatsu did not trust her. Toramatsu also wanted to ensure safe passage for the Dragon Horde that was making its way to New Parnast. Glazheal claimed that by bringing Himiko's pathetic dead body, as well as the imposter that was acting as the King of Flaness's daughter, that Glazheal would bring great pride to Koya. In a great battle, the Cloud Chaser attacked the group, bringing near death to some party members. However, the Adventurers League was victorious. They began securing the Dragon Horde, hoping to thwart the cultists' plan by taking it away from them. Cal also began harvesting the white dragon wings, hoping it was enough for Glacier. Unfortunately, a patrol of kobolds found the Adventurers League and managed to alert Resmir to their presence. With some clever play, Lady Tabitha turned Resmir into some sort of living plant and used her in a hostage situation to get the cultists and the kobolds to back off. As the cult left them alone, Tabitha flung Resmir out of a hole in the iceberg, hundreds if not thousands of feet to her death. However, the cultists came back to the party, and this time they had 2 red wizards accompanying them, Asbara Jos, as well as the leader of the red wizards, R.M. Rath Madar. The group retreated from the Castle of the Clouds, retreating with the Dragon Horde. Through some clever spell usage, they got to the ground quickly and hid, avoiding acknowledgement of what had just transpired. Upon investigating the Dragon Horde, they found vast amounts of treasure, magical items, and 1 frozen firbolg. They thawed her out of the ice to discover that her name was Faye Mossfond, and she was with an organisation called the Emerald Enclave. Faye was investigating the excessive blizzards by New Parnast when she had been frozen by the White Dragon and saved for lunch. Faye claimed that she recognised Lady Euphia, saying there is a special tree carved in her image that has been around for many, many years. Faye claimed that her colleague, Dylan Winterhound, was obsessed with this tree, but he was currently working in the Misty Forest. Faye said she would find out more and find Euphia at Saltmarsh. Also during this time, Jasper had suggested that maybe the Yuan-Ti had been calling Lady Tabitha an imposter because she had actually been killed and brought back to life, just like Sister Margouth. As Lady Tabitha thought about this, she decided to seek out the Raven Queen in prayer. The Raven Queen confirmed Jasper's theory. Lady Tabitha had indeed been killed during the assassination attempt on her baby brother, who had become the heir of Floness. The goddess of memories had altered her new champion's memories to protect her. Lady Tabitha, trying to deal with this, offered a pact to the Raven Queen that they should hold no more secrets from this point out. The Raven Queen agreed, but said there was one secret she could not yet tell, as she had made a promise to another. The group were undecided on what to do with the rest of the dragon horde, but they decided to make their way back home. On the travels, Dorrit received a message from Talis the White. She praised the Adventurers League for what they had done and said that she would see them soon. Soon after, some of the party members received some ill omens. Hector, through a spiritual connection with Sardior, felt sudden dread. LT had a spirit vision of thousands of spirit ravens flying south. Finally, Jasper received a message from Fizban. One of his canaries had informed him that Saltmarsh was suddenly under attack. It turns out the Sahuagins had finally decided it was time to strike. The group sped to the nearest Port Last, and messaged the crew of the Sword of Bahamut to find out their whereabouts. First Mate Lotham said that they were in Neverwinter with Leos and Elantha, supporting the civilians from a recent White Dragon attack. The party ordered the crew to come pick them up. The group went to Port Last with all haste and boarded the Sword of Bahamut. They explained to Leosin what had happened, and Hector set a course that was the fastest and direct route to Saltmarsh. Several days into their journey across the coastline, the boat slowed down and was trapped by longweed, and they noticed a tall structure poking out of the water ahead. The boat was suddenly attacked by Sahuagin, with some crew being pulled overboard. The party defeated the shark-like humanoids, and even found out through magical means that the Sahuagin were ordered to attack Saltmarsh. The Sahuagin also said that they had summoned a god from the Nine Hells, Sokola. Towards the end of the battle, the Adventurers League were met with some familiar faces that saved some of their crew that were thrown overboard. An extremely exhausted Oceanus, Snapjaw, a Coalinth called Zeech, and Anders Solmor had all come out of the harbour during the battle. Their aim was to find the leaders of the strangely blood-crazed humanoids and to try and quell their attack. Although their first boat had been destroyed and they had lost many men, they had tracked Sahuagin reinforcements coming from the strange structure which turned out to be the lizardfolk old home of Longweed. The exhausted group proposed to the Adventurers League that the party should go in, sabotage and cause as much damage as possible. They should also try and locate and incapacitate the leaders before returning to the Sword of Bahamut. Anders Solmor didn't want to leave Saltmarsh for too long, so they gave the party 24 hours before they would all go back together to the seaside town's aid. The party raided Longweed, killing, sabotaging and destroying as much as the Sahuagin forces as possible. Not only did they kill the 4 leaders, but they also vanquished Sokola back to the Nine Hells. They also found out information that the Red Wizards had taught the Sahuagin to summon a creature from the Nine Hells via a book called Beyond the Iron Gates. In this book, they also learned that Tiamat had instructed the leader of the dragon cult, Severin Silrajan, the Red Dragon Mask Wearer, to gain favour with the Sahuagin so they could continue the hunt for the lost books out of the Candlekeep Tower disaster. The last pages of the book also described what would be needed for the summoning of Tiamat. This included vast amounts of treasure, great magical prowess and thousands of souls. This filled the party with dread, and to add their concerns, a slip in the back of the book which was addressed to the Red Wizard, Rathmadar, from Severin Silrajan, explained that the dragon cult were close on Lazarus van der Rijsticker's tail, and that Hundara the Red was hunting him. The note explained that the Red Dragon already had his scent through past dealings with him. During Longweed, they also managed to free some prisoners. This included Usk, the brother of Snapjaw, but also the High Wind's old pilot and one of the founding members of the Adventurers League, Double Lock. Double Lock asked Cal if he had been carrying out Lord Dornwood's mission of finding the pages and uncovering the information on the slips. Carl said they had. Double-Lock then presented her with a mysterious gold book without pages and said that she was worthy. With the Sahuagin leaders and reinforcements defeated, the Adventurers League sailed into Saltmarsh as heroes, crushing the Sahuagin forces from behind. Not only were they the heroes of the hour, but they had also thwarted the Dragon Cult. Although many mysteries have yet to be answered, and how the Dragon Cult responds to all of this remains unclear, one thing was for certain: the Adventurers League and Saltmarsh is not to be taken lightly. So, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this recap and are excited as I am on what is yet to come. As always, if you have any questions about what you have seen, or if you want a one-on-one about your characters so far, please let me know as we move further into the Tyrannical Tales of Saltkeep.